Fear Zone channel. Good evening everyone, and now we go to the story of today, which is of Mr. Baltazar, and this happened to him in the city of Moringa, which is in the state of Parana, and at that time, which was in the year 1994, Mr. Baltazar had 38 years. Today, I am going to talk about something very strange that happened to me many years ago when I came across a werewolf and had to hide this creature from the authorities. Well, to start my story, I warn you that I am retired nowadays, but at that time I worked as a firefighter in my city's fire department. Years ago, is that the television and radio media began to report several animal deaths on farms in the rural area of my city, and strangely no one knew what this beast was. We, the firemen, were worried because it could be any large cat, which was dangerous to people, or even a maned wolf, which sometimes appeared in the forests of the region. So, with this problem in our town, me and some other firemen started to look for and hunt for this beast in the woods near the town, and the strangest thing is that we firemen even tried to look for this beast at night, but there was no sign or clue of this beast, and as it was a very cold season, this beast could be hiding somewhere warmer. I was already frustrated with this unsuccessful hunt. I became a little discouraged, but still very concerned, because the tracks of this beast were of some goats and chickens torn apart with much violence, that surely it was some creature of great size and dangerous that made these misfortunes. Well, a few days went by, and I was sleeping at home at dawn. Then I got a call, and it was my chief of the fire department. He told me to go to a small farm where I would find the animal that was attacking the region. I did not wait and changed quickly, and so another fireman arrived with the corporation's vehicle in front of the house, and soon we went together to see this case. Anyway, after passing through several dirt roads, we found the place where the beast would be, so we went down there and saw the owner of the property, who was an old country bumpkin, and he had a shotgun in his hands, and also this man called us to talk, and he seemed scared. So, talking to this man, he told us that he saw this beast tearing his chickens to pieces, and even threatening to attack his dogs. The old man then went out armed in his yard, and he pointed his rifle in the direction of the creature, but the old man told us that the animal, when he saw the gun, the beast ran at great speed and entered the corral of the farm to escape, and stayed hidden in this stall. The old man said that he didn't know what kind of animal it was, but it seemed to be a dog of a dark color, but it was huge and dangerous, and the old man said that he didn't shoot the beast because he managed to lock that animal inside the stable, but this man also warned us that the beast was very angry and beat the wood and tried at all costs to escape through some loophole. While we were talking, we walked to the barn, and arriving at this corral, which was a small house made of wood, we threw the flashlight inside, but we didn't see the beast, so after checking the stable, the beast really wasn't around. My partner and I decided to enter the corral, took our sleeping pill guns, and we opened the stall door and went inside, but what happened is that the beast was not in the stall. However, in this stall there was an open window, and the old man told us that this window was locked, and that it would be impossible for an animal to have opened it, because the man assured us that this window was always closed. This left us in doubt whether it was an animal or a person that the old man said he had locked in the stable. The fact is, I came out of the corral, and to my surprise, I saw the beast in the yard, and I told my partner to turn off the flashlight, so the beast couldn't see me. Then I saw the animal grabbing a dead chicken with its mouth on the ground, and then he was walking fast towards the farm fence and taking the chicken in his teeth. With that, my partner and I pointed our sleeping guns at the animal and fired, and the beast, with the noise, tried to run, but in a few meters he ended up falling. to the ground and looked very dazed and almost asleep. When my partner and I approached the creature, that animal saw us, and to my amazement that beast got up with great difficulty, but to my surprise, that monster got up like us, balancing on 2 legs, and that monster still tried to run upright towards me to attack me, but he was a little slow, because of the first shot he took of the sleeping pill, and that creature soon fell to the ground. That monster was a werewolf, and all the excitement, I was a little confused, but I kept looking at that beast, and it was resisting the effects of the soniferous ammunition to sleep, but then this beast slept once and for all, and it was my friend, the fireman, who was with me, said that it was really a werewolf, because he saw that the eyes of this monster had a strange glow, which was characteristic of all werewolves. To me, it could be a werewolf, or maybe someone in some laboratory made this monster by mixing animal DNA with human DNA. Seeing that it was a complicated story, we talked to the old man and decided to hide this story, because if we revealed that werewolves existed, it could bring a lot of confusion to us, and this story could even change the course of humanity. So we tied the creature to the stretcher and put the werewolf in the back seat of our car. Then we drove this monster back to the battalion, and we were just going to show it to our head of the corporation to find out what we were going to do. But halfway there, which was around 4 o'clock in the morning, we started hearing some low growls from the back of the car and noises of bones cracking, and as soon as we looked at the werewolf, he was undergoing some other kind of mutation. I told my partner to stop the car, and looking closer at this werewolf, he was changing his appearance rapidly, and soon he turned into a man, and we were surprised by this transformation. My partner and I were worried about how our boss would receive and see this news. Since we no longer had a werewolf to show our superiors, I was wondering how to resolve this situation. I soon went to my house and got some clothes and gave them to the man who turned werewolf, and so we warned him that we would let him escape, but if he was seen in the area again, I would call some friends from the police and we would follow him, and when he turned into a werewolf, we would shoot him to kill him and put an end to this curse for good. Well, the guy who turned into a werewolf, we let him get away, but when we got to the fire department, we made up a story and told our boss that the old bumpkin was done with this animal and that it was just a crazy dog that got into his small farm. At least this story worked, because nobody came after us because of this creature until today, and the guy who turned the creature left and never came back to town. I never heard another report of a werewolf in my region. But that day that we captured the monster, the man who turned werewolf told me that he was cursed by a pact that his parents made and did not fulfill. I do not know if what that man said was true, but one thing is certain, in this werewolf story, these creatures are very smart, that can open a closed window and even know the danger of a firearm. Well folks, thanks for watching the video, and if you like the story, leave your likes and subscribe to the Fear Zone channel. Channel Zone of Fear, its channel of terror. Good night to all, and now, let's go to today's account, which is Mr. Morrow, and this happened to him in the city of Ribeirão Preto, which is in the state of Sao Paulo, and at that time it was in the year 1988. Mr. Morrow was 22 years old. And today I'm going to tell you what happened to me and to some of the villagers who were chased by a creature that we suspected that a strange man who we saw in the night was the werewolf. And everything, it starts like this. I live in a common neighborhood of my city, and as I was very young at that time, I liked to go out at night to have fun in places like dance or where it gave some kind of sound. But already starting my account is that I had a cousin who lived in a rural area where I sometimes visited him. One day my cousin, whose name is Marcelo, came to pick me up to spend a weekend at his place, and so I agreed, and I went with him to spend those days at his house. Well, the fact is, I was quiet all afternoon on his property, and when he arrived in the evening, Marcelo took his father's car, and we went together to a party, which would have in a farm near the neighborhood. Arriving at this party, we were drinking and having fun, and my cousin knew most of the people of this party, and so he introduced me a lot of people in this place. I ended up getting lucky, and a woman was interested in me, and of course, my cousin set it up, and I talked to this young lady, and I ended up kissing her. The fact is, my cousin lent me his car, so he could take the girl somewhere, and everything worked out. My cousin gave me the key to his car, and the woman got in the car with me, and then I turned on the car, and then we started hanging around with the car, and we found a place to be together. 100 yards away from the party, I stopped the car in front of a road bar, which was down the street, turned off the car lights, and I was dating the girl. At that instant, I saw a man passing by the dirt road on foot, and this guy was at the farm party too. Soon this guy disappeared down the street. I didn't call him, and I went back to dating a little more. A few minutes passed. I got scared because the guy I saw passing by the road, he was hiding in the middle of the woods. With a frightened face, he kept looking back and forth, trying to see something, as if he were being careful not to be found. With this, I was attentive. With the way this man was, I thought fast to get out of that place, because the weather got a little strange. More what happened next was that the woman who was with me in the car told me to be quiet and look at something. At that moment, a huge animal came out behind the car and passed the side of the vehicle. This animal was really weird, and it kind of looked like a monkey with pointy ears, and it walked in a way without making noise and looking at the woods across the road, looking for something, and that's when I understood that the guy I had seen in the middle of the thicket, he ran away from this creature. Well, the animal did not see me inside the car, because the light was off. I looked in the woods again, but I did not see that man hiding there, so I ended up turning on the car and the light of the lighthouse. With this lit much of the road. At that moment I took a huge scare, because that beast, who passed near the vehicle, now he was standing only on 2 legs, as if it were a person. This creature was kind of amazed, and looked a little in my direction. Then that beast ran on his feet, and went into the woods that was on the side of the road and disappeared. I think he was afraid that I would catch him with the car. But that animal to me was a werewolf, for this beast had such a strong glow in its eyes that it was something demonic, and its body had a dark and failed coat, and its appearance was almost equal to that of a dog, and its legs were crooked backwards. Other than that, is that this werewolf, it was the same height as a grown man. At that moment, I was very scared to see this creature, then accelerated the fast vehicle, and left that road very terrified, and the woman who was inside the car with me was crying in fear. But as soon as I arrived at the party, she calmed down, and also said that the beast of the road was a werewolf. So at that event, I talked to my cousin about the werewolf, but since he was already kind of drunk, he didn't care much about what I said. But anyway, I stayed with this girl at the party until about 3:30 in the morning, and after that event ended in the farm, people began to leave for their homes. Anyway, my cousin turned on his car, and we took the road back to the place, but it happened that when we were leaving that rural village, it was that we saw, 20 meters in front of a place, a gentleman with a wooden handle in his hands. This gentleman had a full frightened face. We stopped the car in front of your residence to talk to this man for a while. And at that point, while we were talking to the old man, I asked if you wouldn't have seen some kind of huge, dark animal prowling around. The besieger said that animal he saw none. However, the gentleman told us that he got up from bed around 4 o'clock in the morning, and he went walking in his backyard. Then the old man began to hear some moaning noises in the wasteland that had on the side of his place, and that the noises seemed to be of a person suffering from pain. The old man was hidden, but went to his wooden enclosure and looked at the woods. He saw was a man without clothes, rolling across the floor. With this scene happening, he was afraid, but after a minute, the strange man who rolled on the ground suddenly improved, and soon this man began to look inside the old man's place. Where was your clothesline? The besieger realized that that stranger would enter his property to pick up the clothes, because the subject was naked. Then old walked through his yard and took a wooden handle in his hands, and then he woke up his dogs too. Soon after, the strange man began to jump over the wooden enclosure to enter the site, but at that moment the besieger's dogs ran to the fence to attack the subject, and with the fright he took from the attack of the dogs, the suspect fell badly from above the fence. And when this man was in the woods, this stranger ran naked through the woods and disappeared. And after that conversation we had with this old man, we went back to my cousin's place, but the image of the werewolf, it wouldn't come out of my head. But of course also, I called story that I went through with this beast, and the guy who was moaning naked in the bush, that to me, he was the beast, and he was near the place passing from werewolf to man. But older people have always said that these creatures existed, but in this whole experience, now I know these creatures of the night are real. And they stay in the darkness of the woods, and they can strike by surprise. Good staff, thank you for watching the video. If you liked, subscribe to the channel to receive more stories of werewolves. Until the next.